Hey TYT, I'm Nomi Konst. We have some breaking news. You may have heard on Monday night, November 27th, Representative Luis Gutierrez from Chicago, the 4th District in Chicago, announced that he will not be seeking re-election, essentially. That was based on reports from credible sources who said that he was not going to be submitting his petitions. Now, petitions are what you need to get on a ballot. People have to sign the petitions. Usually a candidate will get, 2 to 3 times as many petitions because, people can be from outside of a district. The names can be signed legibly, or they could have signed other petitions. So that was big, big news. Nobody knows why, but the conversation immediately went to who is going to run to replace Representative Gutierrez, and how can they get those signatures in such a short period of time? Well, we have one of those candidates right here speaking with us today. It's Carlos Ramirez-Rosa, who is an alderman in Chicago's 35th Ward. He's also a Democratic Socialist, and I'm loving his Bernie Sanders sign behind him right now. Thank you so much, Alderman, for joining us, and catch us up. What's happening?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on. So Congressman Luis Gutierrez shocked the world yesterday when the rumor started circulating that he would not be seeking re-election. I heard the rumor late last night, and then my phone, my Facebook, my email was flooded by hundreds of people in the 4th District saying, if the rumor is true, we want you to seek the Democratic nomination. I met with family, I met with friends late last night, and they said, look, it looks like there's some truth to this rumor and you got to start moving. So I printed petitions late last night. We now have thousands of petitions ready to go. We've reached out to hundreds of volunteers. As a matter of fact, over 260 people have signed up since this morning to help me collect signatures through my website, carlosrosa.org. And we're building that grassroots army to move forward the political revolution. And like you said, bring democratic socialist values and bring bold progressive leadership to the United States Congress. Congressman Luis Gutierrez has been a champion on so many issues important to the left, important to the base of the Democratic Party. I'm going to continue that. I'm going to vigorously oppose Donald Trump, and I'm going to fight for Medicare for all, free college tuition, a $15 living wage today, and I'm going to fight to move the Democratic Party to the left to be a true champion for the working people of our nation.
Congressman Gutierrez is of Puerto Rican descent, and he has been vociferously calling for aid to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. I was just in Puerto Rico, and I will reinforce that. But he's one of the few members of Congress or national leadership that is of Puerto Rican descent. Tell us about this district. It's a Latino district, but not all Latinos are the same. And I was told that over and over in Puerto Rico. Don't put the Puerto Ricans in the same lump as the Mexicans and the same lump as the South Americans. It's just, Central Americans. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your coverage of the crisis in Puerto Rico and for being the media that's out there on the ground. Obviously, the crisis is very deep, and people in Chicago are feeling it because it's their family members being impacted. I've had the privilege to be able to travel to the East Coast and the West Coast, and people often think about New York as Dominican, Puerto Rican, Cuban. They think about the Southwest and California as Mexican. In Chicago, we have both Puerto Ricans and Mexicans in hundreds of thousands. We actually have a million Mexicans in the Chicagoland area and hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans. I'm half Mexican, half Puerto Rican, as is the district. The district is earmuff shaped. It was created by court order back in the early 90s to create a super majority Latino district from which Congressman Luis Gutierrez was elected and has been the only congressman elected since its creation. And it connects the northwest side, which is heavily Puerto Rican, with the southwest side of Chicago, which is heavily Mexican, by looping around the western suburbs of Chicago.
How active is this space? I mean, it's unfortunate, but in many communities of color, it's about turnout. How much of your game is going to be based on turning out your key community? I mean, especially if you've represented both sides of the Mexican and the Puerto Rican side.
Well, I will say that people are ready for bold, progressive leadership. Right after the election of Donald Trump, we have a ward organization. So as alderman of the 35th Ward, I have a people power base in my district where we go out and knock doors every single weekend to talk about affordable housing, to talk about the fights for social and economic justice that we need to engage in as working people. Right after the election of Donald Trump, we had meetings with 400, 500 people coming out. We had canvases with 100 people going out and knocking doors. People want to vigorously oppose Trump, and they want to see a Democratic Party that's fighting harder, that's fighting smarter, and that's fighting from the left. So that's going to be what this campaign is about, is giving a choice to the people to say, look, this super progressive district that is overwhelmingly working class, that is immigrant, that is diverse, we get to have the opportunity to say, what is the strongest, most bold, progressive leadership that we can send to Washington? I've provided that bold, progressive leadership as alderman in the Chicago City Council, standing up to Rahm Emanuel and his corporate Democrat policies. I provided that leadership as a community organizer fighting to stop deportations. I worked for Congressman Luis Gutierrez for 3 years, and I'm very proud to have been able to be part of his tenure and his work championing immigrant rights and workers' rights. I'm ready to bring that bold progressive leadership to DC to move forward the political revolution. Bernie Sanders overwhelmingly won this congressional district in 2016, and I was one of his delegates to the DNC. I actually got the highest number of votes to be a delegate for Bernie Sanders from the 4th Congressional District. So I think that this is a district that's ready to move the Democratic Party to the left, and I'm the candidate that's ready to do it.
Some of the other names being floated are you mentioned Rahm Emanuel, his former opponent, who is also progressive. So how is this fight going to take place in the next couple of weeks as you're submitting petitions?
Yeah, that's the great dynamic about this district, is that we have so many great progressive candidates that get to have a dialogue about how do we bring bold and strong progressive leadership to Washington, D.C. I have the utmost respect for Commissioner Jesus Chuy Garcia. I was proud of the work that I did working on his campaign in 2015 when he was running for mayor. Ultimately, it's going to be the voters that decide on March 20th what's the type of bold progressive leadership that we want to see in Washington to take on Donald Trump and fight for progressive policies.
Tell us a little bit about what's happening with the mayor right now on the ground. Is he still popular? Is there pushback?
He is in deep, deep trouble, and he knows it. People have not forgotten about the 16 shots that murdered Laquan McDonald. They have not forgotten about the cover-up. They continue to see the broken priorities, where our mayor says that he's poised to give billions of dollars in tax cuts to Amazon, while at the same time closing 50 schools, closing mental health clinics. Our city is on the wrong track right now, and Chicagoans feel it. They want to see the same bold progressive leadership that I'm ready to take to DC. They're ready to see that in the Chicago City Council. And I think that we're going to see an excited round of candidates in 2019 running for alderman and hopefully also running for mayor. Rahm knows he's in trouble. He's going to have to spend a lot of money if he's going to keep his seat. But ultimately, I think Chicagoans are going to say, fool me once, you're not going to fool me again.
You're notably one of the new leaders of the DSA movement, I'll say, because it's not a party. Do people on the ground understand what DSA is?
There are thousands of DSA members in Illinois, and I believe there's about 1,500 DSA members in the Chicagoland area, and they are doing real work. They're on the front lines of fighting to stop Donald Trump's deportation regime. They're on the front lines of fighting for Medicare for all, of fighting for police accountability, reform in the city of Chicago. So people are beginning to see the work that this group of people is out there on the ground engaging in, and they're excited. So DSA in Chicago is growing by leaps and bounds, just like it is across the nation. And I will say that I've heard from hundreds of DSA members in Chicago that are ready to knock doors tonight. And they're going to be at my campaign office very soon, gathering those petitions.
What's next with the petitions?
So we have 6 days. So Congressman Gutierrez announced very abruptly, we have 6 days to collect a minimum of 860. But Chicago and Illinois actually has very arcane election law, and it's very easy to be knocked off the ballot if you make simple mistakes. So we're going to train our volunteers tonight. People are going to start arriving very shortly to get trained up, go out to train stations, go door to door to collect thousands of signatures to make sure that we have the prerequisite 860. And then we'll see who submits on Monday, December 4th. And from there, we'll move forward with that dialogue about what's the best way to bring bold progressive leadership to Washington.
And then it moves into a primary, or is it a special election?
It is then a primary. So the congressman will actually not vacate his seat until his current term is over at the end of 2018. So the primary will take place March 20th. And because it is a safe Democratic seat, the winner of the primary March 20th is a shoo-in in November.
Well, Alderman, this is very exciting. It's exciting for progressives. It's exciting for Democratic Socialists. It's exciting for a new generation of politicos who hopefully make it into Washington. And we've been watching you since, I think the first time we saw you was at the People's Summit and then at DSA, the convention that I covered. So it's been really encouraging. Greatly appreciated that you took the time today to speak with us.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited. We are building a movement across this nation, and we're going to feel it in the 4th Congressional District in 2018. I guarantee you a Democratic Socialist, a bold progressive, is going to be moving the Democratic Party to the left as the next congressman from this district.
We hope so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.